been a lot of YouTubers recently coming out with their theatrical debuts. A couple years ago, we had the Philippou brothers. They just had a follow-up last year. We also got Chris Stuckman last year, and then more recently, we had Markiplier. Now, I'm not like a Markiplier guy. I've seen a couple of his videos. I'm mostly familiar with him being a reaction to different memes on the internet. So initially when I found out that he was making an indie horror movie like a lot of these guys do, which makes sense, a lot of directors get their start in horror, I was, I was kind of like, whatever. But then I found out that this was based on the indie horror game Iron Lung, and my interest was piqued. I hadn't played Iron Lung, but I'd heard of it as just being this really interesting sounding metal game where you're in a submarine in an ocean of blood. It's very spooky and scary and atmospheric, and I am all about atmospheric stuff like that. I think we are kind of in a golden age of video game adaptations. Now, they're not all good, but they were used to be all bad, and now we're starting to get some really good ones. And I honestly think Iron Lung is among those good ones. It's interesting that this came out the same weekend that Send Help, a film from Sam Raimi, came out, because it feels like it's very much in the lineage of the Sam Raimis, of the Pete Jacksons, of those guys in the 80s and 90s who were just like, I'm going to make a small budget film with, a couple of my friends, in this case, a couple of YouTube friends, and just put in buckets of fake blood and just kind of make a nasty, grimy little movie. And I think this pulled that off well. The cosmic horror of being in a submarine in a blood-filled ocean with just eldritch horrors existing beneath it was really well pulled off. I gotta say, it's a really cool story, right? This is a guy who's a streamer. He starts playing this game because he's tired. He starts role-playing as if he's like really in this. And then it gets to the point where he reaches out to the director, and him and the director are, messaging back and forth on Twitter. And then he decides to actually go out, independently finance, star, and write and direct in a version of this. Honestly, it's so cool that this thing exists. It's so cool that he got this passion project for this really cool indie video game off the ground, and that people were calling in and demanding it be seen. It's in over 300 theaters on opening night, and this thing kind of rips. So if whether or not you're a fan of Markiplier, go check out Iron Lung. If you're a video game fan or not, still check it out. I had a really good time. I've been Derek McDuff. If you want to hear more of what I have to say, check out my podcast, Underrated Movie Podcast, on all the apps.